Hi guys, so this is the car we are going to review today. It's a 2019 Peugeot 3008, and in this review we are going to talk about the exterior, interior and the overall driving experience, and at the end of the video we are going to tell you whether it could be a good drive to you. I'm Buddhima Hashan and this is Talk Sri Lanka. So let's start with the engine. So if you look at the engine options that you can get for this car, you have like three options. You can get it with a 1.2 liter engine, petrol engine, or 1.6 liter petrol engine, or a 2 liter diesel engine. But if you look at the most common engine variant that comes to Sri Lanka, it is the 1.2 liter 3-cylinder engine, and that is the engine this car has. So it makes about 130 horsepower and 230 Newton meters of torque. So that torque figure is really impressive compared to the engine of the car, and this car has more torque than most of its rivals such as the Honda Vezel or Toyota CHR. And this car has an automatic transmission, an 8-speed automatic transmission to be precise, and it weighs around 1,378 kilos. So 130 horsepower and 230 Newton meters of torque, and it weighs around 1,378 kilos, and I'm really wondering how that will perform in our 0 to 60 test, which we'll find out now. Now let's see how this car performs in a 0 to 60 test. So I'm going to put it to sports mode and I'm going to brake boost it. 3, 2, 1. $60.
5.7.
So 5.7 seconds, not bad. And so there you have it guys, 5.7. So now let's talk about front looks. And Peugeot has tried to make it look like the face of a lion, and it actually does kind of look like a lion. And let's start with the headlamps. So in the headlamps we get LED lights, and we also get daytime running lights here, and in this particular car you see the signal lights here, and there is also an LED fog light that has been provided, and we also get some vents down here. They are not fake vents, they are actual vents, so they are properly functional. So actually what that does, it channels air to the brakes and to the engine to cool it down, so that's something good. And even in the grille you can see vents which channels air to the engine, and we also get some chrome parts here and some black accents here, which adds to the premium looks of the car. And we also get some silver plating here, which looks cool. And this car has a ground clearance of 22 centimeters, so you can pretty much drive anywhere in Sri Lanka. Side looks of the car. So I'm really having a hard time finding what is my favorite angle of this car, because every angle looks gorgeous. So let's start with side mirrors. They are auto retractable mirrors, and if you want to unlock, you don't get keyless entry in this particular trim, so you can unlock it with your key like this. And let's move to brakes. So in the front we get disc brakes, and even in the back we get disc brakes as well. So all 4 disc brakes, and they are really sharp. And we also get turning indicators on the mirrors, so that's something cool. And we also get a silver plate down here, which adds to the overall looks of the car. And now let's check the fuel economy. So what about the fuel efficiency? Well, you get a fuel tank capacity of 53 liters, and the fuel efficiency is when you drive it in town you get something like 10 to 11 kilometers per liter, and when you go outstation, that means a combination of highway driving and city driving, you can easily get something like 14, even 15 kilometers per liter if you drive carefully. And it is recommended to use 95 octane for this car. So back looks of the car. Well, it looks gorgeous from every angle, as I just told you, so the back is no different. Let's start with these tail lights, and these 3 parts you see here, they are supposed to look like claws of a lion.
You guys want to see those claws, don't you? Get ready. That is impressive right there.
Scary, right? And they actually look really cool, and we also get a wiper, a rear wiper, and we can see the Peugeot badge nicely centered in the middle, and we also get a silver part here, and there are 2 exhaust tips which are not functional, they are fake, which I'm not a big fan of, but overall back looks really great. So now let's check the boot capacity. So there are many ways to open the boot of this car, and one way is by doing a leg gesture like this, and it opens automatically, and you can also press a button on the remote, and there's also a button in the door, and there's also another button on the driver's side, but unfortunately in this car you don't get those options, so you have to open it from here like this. So the boot capacity of this car, it's one of the biggest in its class, and you get a boot capacity of 591 liters, and so in terms of practicality that is really great. And it is not only limited to that, you can just pull a lever down there and extend the boot capacity by folding down rear seats, and if you want you can also fold down the front seats and get a completely flat floor, and that provides a boot capacity of 1500 liters. So if you want, you can carry items such as a cycle or even a fridge. So in terms of other practical features, you get a light here and a 12-volt socket for your mobile devices, and we also get some tethering points down here. And if you check the under storage capacity, you get a space saving spare tire, which is really handy, and you also get a toolkit down there. So in terms of boot capacity, it's really good, and I couldn't have asked for a better boot. Now let's see how the rear seats feel like. So the first thing I notice is these seats are really comfortable, and you get a good knee room and good amount of headroom, so people over 6 foot will be fine in the back here. And we don't get a sunroof in this car, but in some Peugeot 3008s we do get a sunroof. But on a positive note, since we don't have a sunroof, we get lots of headroom, and if there was a sunroof it could have eaten the headspace. And we also get separate air conditioning for rear passengers, and you can control the fan speed from here. And so if you want to carry 3 people at once, there is no hump in the floor, so that's something good. And if I move to the middle seat, well, it's a little bit uncomfortable compared to seats on your side, but I can sit here probably for 2-3 hours, no issues. And it's quite spacious since this is an SUV, and yeah, you can carry 3 people at once in the back of this car. So in terms of the storage available in the back here, it's really good and it's really practical. So we get door bins which can store huge bottles like this, and you also get some cup holders in the armrest, and you get through loading as well. So if you want to carry long items, you can just put down this plastic part and carry long items. So it's really practical, as I was just telling you. And we also get some net pockets here, and as far as the entertainment is concerned, it's really good because we get 4 speakers in the back here, and the sound quality is good. So now we are in the front of the car, and if you thought the outside of the car looked really cool, you need to see the inside because it's gorgeous inside here. And I think this car has one of the best looking interior at this price point. So if I'm to talk about the build quality of the car, it's a combination of fabric, soft plastic, and you can also see some piano black materials and some silver plates, which adds to the premium looks of the car. And yeah, looks wise it's really good. So we get ambient lighting in the cup holders, and you can also see ambient lighting on the door, and we also get an SOS button here, so in case of an emergency you can call someone. And we also get a seat belt indicator which is on the roof. So if you look at the infotainment system that comes to this car, it is called the Peugeot iCockpit. And on the driver's side we get a gauge cluster which has a digital display where we can go through different modes. So minimum mode, this mode is ideal when you're driving at night because you want your brightness level to be as low as possible, and therefore you don't see a lot of information. In dials mode you can see your RPM levels and your speedometer. In driving mode you are shown where you are in the lane and your speed level and RPM level. And in navigation mode you can see your map information. And in personal mode you can make it display whatever information you want it to display. So as a part of this Peugeot iCockpit, we also do get a separate 8-inch touch screen, and from that we can control almost any function of the vehicle. So the main functions that we can control are driving functions and vehicle settings. In the driving functions menu, you can control your headlamp tipping, parking assistance, auto start stop function, parking sensors and traction control. We can also use vehicle settings and control our headlamp settings such as welcome lighting and directional headlamps. And via comfort settings, you can control your rear wiper, mirror adjustments and mood lighting. And via vehicle access menu settings, you can control your tailgate functions and door unlock functions. And via safety menu, you can control your active safety brake settings, speed display functions and driver attention warning settings. And via application settings, you can connect your mobile devices using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And in center console, you get buttons which look like piano keys, and you can go through different settings of your menu by pressing those buttons. This button is to control your music and media. This is to control your AC and your navigation settings, vehicle settings, phone connectivity, and finally you can go to application settings by pressing this button. So the steering wheel. So in the steering wheel you get manual adjustments. So if you want to change the height, you can do it like this, and if you want to get it closer, you can do that as well. So you get both tilt and telescopic adjustments. And there are also paddle shifters, and they are column mounted paddle shifters, not steering wheel mount paddle shifters. And there is a complaint about that because when you press them, only the silver part of the pedal moves. So in my opinion, that kind of ruins the experience you can get from paddle shifters, because you don't get that click sound and the experience, and I don't see the reason why Peugeot has done that. And the steering wheel is smaller compared to the size of the vehicle, and some people may not like it, but I don't mind that. So now let's see how the seats feel like. And you get good amount of knee room, good amount of headroom. And if you want to adjust the height of the seat, there's a lever down there, you can adjust the height like this. And if you want to slide the seat forward, there's a bar down here, you can lift it up and slide it forward and backwards like this. And yeah, it's all good. So in terms of front storage, it is really practical, and we get huge door bins which can store a bottle like this. And you get cup holders here, and there is an armrest. So under the armrest you get some decent space, and we also get a glove box, and only like 30% of the glove box is usable, so you have to be aware of that. But other than that, the front storage is really good. So now let's see how this car feels to drive in town. And the first thing I notice is the seating position. You do sit quite high, and therefore you get a very good view from the front, and you can clearly see what's in front of you. But there is a blind spot from A pillar, so you have to be really careful when you chunk it into a corner. And the rear visibility is alright, but again there is a big blind spot from C pillars. But it's alright, because as a standard feature, this car has a reverse camera and the quality is really good. So the brake feeling of the car. Well, when you press them slightly, I feel like it sometimes offers too much resistance, but it's okay. But they are sharp, so you have to get used to that. Suspension of the car. Well, it's really comfortable, and you can hardly feel any bumps or imperfections of the road. And I'm surprised how comfortable this car is, and it deals with bumps really good. Transmission. Well, it's an 8-speed automatic, and it makes it really easy to drive in town. You don't have to bother changing gears manually, and gear changes are really smooth. You don't feel any gear changes unless you floor it, and you can always see what gear you are in from your gauge cluster. So the steering wheel. Well, it's really small compared to the size of the vehicle, and it kind of make it easier to maneuver in town, and it has a turning radius of 5.4 meters. Now let's check the turning radius of the car, which is like 5.4 meters, and whether it is easy to maneuver in town. So it's easy, just like that. The turning radius of 5.4 meters. So people might say this is a tall SUV that is really hard to maneuver in town, but it's not. It's really an easy car to drive in town. Now let's see how this car feels at highway speeds. Now I'm doing 70 kilometers, and surprisingly there is no tire noise and wind noise. There's a little bit of tire noise and wind noise, but overall the NVH levels of the car is really good, and the car feels quite nice and stable when you change lanes, so that's something really good. So in terms of acceleration, well, you might think that this is a 3-cylinder engine, therefore it does not have enough pulling power, but you are wrong. For a 3-cylinder engine which has 130 horsepower, this car has got some serious pulling power, and overtaking at highway speed is like nothing, and it's quite effortless actually, and it's really comfortable as well. So on longer journeys it feels really comfortable. So where does this leave us? Well, as a mini SUV, it has one of the biggest boots in its class, and therefore it's really practical. It's comfortable, and it has more than enough space for 5 people, and it's really easy to drive in town as well. And I almost forgot the elegant interior. So then, what's my conclusion about this? Well, it looks gorgeous inside and it looks gorgeous outside, and it drives well, and it has decent fuel economy for a vehicle at this price point. And what more do you want? So if you enjoy the video, ensure you subscribe, like and share, and later there will be an in-depth financial review where I talk about the monthly expenses of on this car. So if you are interested, you can watch that as well, and see you in the next one.